What are they coming for? Food?
No, I really don't know why they come. The floodplains, where the hunting reserves on, they are good floodplains as well. And depending on the time of year as well, but they'll come and feed on water chestnut. I think an early one is Philip screamers. I'm not too sure I think Americans are more familiar with the type of bird, the screamers. I don't think we have many of that species or that family in Australia. So, yeah, I reckon the average, that's my average, is around 150 birds. So that would be a lot. Most people are just shooting on weekends. I probably shoot maybe 3-4 times a week.
Welcome back to another episode, Accurate Hunts, A Life Outdoors. And tonight, or today I should say, we have David Roberts with us. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And Dave comes from a little old town up north called Darwin, and he's living just outside of Darwin, but he runs a group called Darwin Goose Hunters. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Darwin Goose Hunters, yeah.
And it's something I mean, for us guys down south, our bird hunting sort of season is under threat, and especially those in Melbourne and what's happening down there. And you guys just seem to be having a ball up there, and it's about to kick off again.
Yeah, that's right. We've been really lucky in the Northern Territory, and Darwin is a special place when it comes to hunting. As you know, you've spent a bit of time up in the Northern Territory. Everybody hunts. Everybody hunts up here. Everybody loves hunting. We don't have those. I guess the pressures from the anti-groups like you guys do down south. So yeah, we're about to kick off a Magpie Goose season.
And that's is it 26? I think you said, or
on the 25th. So yep. They always started on a Wednesday midweek. I think that leaves a bit of pressure because everybody wants to start the season off. So. If they started on the weekend, there's too many people. So they normally started off on Wednesday.
Interesting choice, because I mean they do the same thing in Victoria, and that's something that comes up regularly. You know, why is it the Wednesday start? And I personally thought it was a little bit more to do with the anti-hunters down there, but I didn't realise you guys chose a Wednesday as well. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people having that day off work, is there?
That's it. It's probably so. Parks and Wildlife don't have to pay overtime on the weekend as well. I could imagine.
That'd be,
yeah. Now, and a lot of people have that off. I've got 5 weeks off for the goose season, start of the goose season. So I'm looking forward to it. The 25th should be good.
That's some dedication. We'll get into the goose hunting and things in a lot of detail, but I want to know about the geese themselves. So they're called a magpie geese, but are they... what are they doing year round, and why are they so many of them in Darwin right now?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. They're not in Darwin all the time. They don't sit in Darwin all year round, so they move around, go out to the nesting sites, and there's nesting sites over to the east of Darwin, near the Adelaide River, going over to Kakadu and places like that. That's a large nesting site over there. And there's also a nesting site over to the west, even near the Daly River. Around the Finnis area, there's a big nesting site over there. You don't see any magpie goose in Darwin for the whole dry season, and it's a real change of the seasons, and you can mark when the dry season, the wet season's coming, and you see the cycles of Darwin, and one of those cycles going from the dry season to the build-up are the magpie geese arriving in Darwin. There's none whatsoever. Next week, there'll be hundreds everywhere. And in the parks, in the local footy fields, in the local orchards, they just seem to just come in one big dump.
And what are they coming for? Food?
No, I really don't know why they come. The floodplains, where the hunting reserves on, they are good floodplains as well. And depending on the time of year as well, but they'll come and feed on water chestnut. And they have a big problem of magpie geese going into the mango orchards as well. There's a big cull program as well to get rid of them out of the mango orchards. They do quite a bit of damage, so I'm not a great fan of it. I haven't really participated in any of the cull hunts up there in the mango farms. I prefer to chase the birds and understand the bird and move around. And, it would be good fun. Don't get me wrong, you would probably get a lot of birds for the freezer. But I prefer chasing them around Darwin area, around the local hunting reserves. And we're really lucky. So we have hunting reserves quite close to Darwin City itself.
Are they a native or are they migratory coming?
No, they can migrate from Papua New Guinea, but it's not a massive influx from Papua New Guinea. They do meet up in Papua New Guinea as well, but the main flock would be from Australia. They've got a broad range, and you'll notice that sometimes you get reports of them down in the New South Wales on the east coast, down the east coast of Queensland, but also there was originally a flock down in Victoria when white settlement first came, and then they were just easy to catch, so they got wiped out. But now they've re-established them down there in Victoria as well. So and I can imagine that they just follow from the northern parts of Australia down the great river systems like the Darling River system. They move around, and there's so many of them. There's estimated to be around about 2.5 million in the population up here, and that fluctuates depending on the conditions, water conditions, all those types of things. So it fluctuates, and that's what sets our bag limits as well. When they do a survey each year, and then they'll set a bag limit from there. Yeah.
And what has that bag limit been in previous years, and what is it this year?
This year it's 7, and we're allowed 10 ducks, depending on what species you get. But 7, we used to have a bag limit of 10, which is really good. Like 10 is a good number. But then we had some really bad wet seasons, and there wasn't much water around. They did the surveys, and I don't know, the surveys are a bit questionable how they did it. But anyway, that's a bit political. But then we went down to a 3-bird bag limit, and that's if you get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning for 3-bird bag limit, it's a struggle. You get, and then you end up shooting the bag limit at 5 minutes, 3 birds, and you're off home. There are some benefits because, if somebody was already in your spot when you got there, you knew he was going to be finished in 5 minutes, and you could just get straight into his spot. So there was one benefit out of that. There was a big protest in Darwin when they pushed the bag limit down to 3, because goose hunting is a massive cultural thing up here in Northern Territory. You don't be messing with our birds.
Well, besides, your culture and things, obviously there's traditional Aboriginal culture related to geese hunting. What's the history there? That obviously been doing it forever.
Oh, they've been doing it forever. Well, magpie geese, it's an unusual bird. It's the last one remaining of its species. It goes back millions of years, the species itself, and on the evolutionary chain or tree, it was the first branch off. Everything went underneath it. They're all ducks, swans, other geese, but magpie geese was the first branch, and it's still the magpie geese that we have up here is one of the only remaining type of its species here in Northern Territory, in the world, in the Northern Territory. So it's a really unique bird. We call it a goose, but is it really a goose? I think it probably got that goose sort of label from its honking noise. It's very similar to what Americans and other people expect from geese, but it doesn't have webbed feet. It actually has like a clawed stick, and it nests and can roost. Sorry, it doesn't nest in trees. It can roost in trees at night, which is no other geese does that. So it's really unusual.
If it wasn't a goose, what would you call it?
I don't know. It's like, I think I think an early one is called the screamers. I'm not too sure I think Americans are more familiar with the type of birds, the screamers. I don't think we have many of that species or that family in Australia. So, but it's totally in its own branch. It's totally different. There's no other bird like it. There's no two types. There's no regional variations from country to country. It's it. That's it. It's what it is. So it's a very unusual bird. And Aboriginal, the local Larrakia people here in Darwin love the magpie geese and love the magpie goose. They're allowed to shoot them all year round. But like I was saying, they only come into Darwin this time of year. So they will only come into the hunting reserves or these parts of Darwin now. So, so they don't shoot them all year round. So they'll really only shoot them, the local guys, when they come into the Darwin area. Guys out in Kakadu will probably be shooting them all year round. But when you've got a population of about 2.5 million, it's all right. I think they can deal with a little bit of pressure.
Circling back to your bag limit conversation, that's a per person per day.
Yeah.
So do we know rough estimates on how many are harvested per year?
There is around about 2,500 registered waterfowl hunters in the Northern Territory or in the Darwin area. You are supposed to fill out a
harvest return.
Harvest return at the end of the year. For me, I go hunting a lot, and I would probably shoot maybe 150 birds a year. So I can imagine. I'm not a great shot. I've never proclaimed to be a great shot.
Do you think that's sort of the average for guys that hunt the whole season, or do you think that's above average?
I would say it's above average. I think I'd probably go hunting a little bit more than the average guy. I'm definitely an average shooter. I'm no great shooter. So I reckon the average, that's my average, is around about 150 birds. So that would be a lot. Most people are just shooting on weekends. I probably shoot maybe 3-4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky enough I can do it before work. And that's what's good about Darwin. You can get down and do a hunt and make it into work and do a full day's work as well. So
I just did a quick Google check while we were talking, but it said you were talking about it before. The magpie goose is the sole living representative species of the family, and I'm going to butcher this. I'm a horrible.
That's the reason I didn't say it. I read up on it as well, but I didn't want to try.
Anserantidae. Anserantidae. Now, don't ask me to spell it ever again. But and I'll just do a quick Google at some point about how many do we think are harvested each year. But it's refreshing to hear that you guys are really getting into it, and as a city, it has this real culture around it.
And it is. It really is. And we talk about places in Europe and other places that which have a food culture. And it really is. It's a food culture up here, and it's a wild harvest food culture. And goose season is coming. It's the first. You have the dry season. Yeah, fishing is okay. You can still get the reef fishing, but goose season is the first step from dry season going into the build up. And people start to talk about goose hunting. Everybody goose hunts up here. It's amazing the diversity of people on my page. You can get from every nationality. Darwin is a very multicultural place. We have a very, very big Greek population up here. They love hunting. Obviously, we have our Aboriginal population, one of the biggest in Australia up here. We have English or Anglo-Saxons. We love our hunting up here. You have a very big Chinese, Asian population up here. They're all into it. And you get a whole diverse range of ages as well. And you might typically think, hunting people, men between 18 to 45 or something. But I get young girls on my page. I get families on my page. People stop you in the street. If they know you're a goose hunter and one of your friends, they'll stop you in the street and ask if you have any geese, or what are you doing in goose season? They you're a goose hunter. They're like, well, what's happening? Are you going to get some goose? Have you got any spare stuff? Because you can't buy it. There's one company what sells it, the Motlop family, they're AFL football players. But anyway, they've got a license. They're Aboriginal family up here, and they've got a license to sell it. It's a bit expensive, like $50 a bird, and normally they run it through like a wild harvest place in South Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And $50 a bird is right. But other than that, you have to go get it yourself. You can't barter, you can't buy it, you can't sell it.
There's not many foods like that left in the world.
No, and look, it's a real, like I said, I think, like I said, we talk about Europe and their food cultures. I think it's probably one of the only real food cultures left in Australia where, a time of year comes, the harvest comes, birds come in, people get their freezers full and eat it for the rest of the year. I love it. I really, that's one of the main things I love about the Magpie Geese.
I definitely love my food as well, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. I just was Googling while we were talking, and it's saying that up to 18% of total population is taken annually by hunters, with an estimate of 130 to 360, it's very vague, birds per year, with many of those being taken by Aboriginal people. It's considered sustainable. The estimated take by hunters during the hunting season is around 60,000.
Well, a bit overestimation.
Yeah, well, that's 2009. That might have been when you're at low, 3 per person. Mm. And then it's saying another estimate here is 50 to 150 per year. So,
yeah, right.
And contributing approximately 1.2 million to 2 million to the Northern Territory's economy each season.
Yeah, and I think it could do more, and really that's one of the things I try and push on the page is people coming up to shit up here in the Territory, and I've had a lot of messages and people asking from down south come over to the Northern Territory. They want to shoot because I think they get that pressure from the lobbyist groups and the activists down there in the south, and they want to come up to a place where they're unharassed. And they can enjoy their hunting, and so Northern Territory offers that. And I think that it's a very big fishing culture up here, but I think that hunting could not overtake it, but complement.
Be on par.
Yeah, it will be the seasons, a different season. Barramundi season. You had the waterfowl season, and it just links up, and it'll be great for tourism. And as you know, hunters spend money.
Hunters spend money. That's true. There's a meme that goes around. It said the average person spends X amount on their hobby per year, and there's a picture of a hunter in the corner. Like, are you kidding? Like, don't tell my wife. It's not a cheap sport, that's for sure. With you said earlier about registered hunters. What's required to become? Is there a bird identification like a whitfowl, like our whit test we have down here, or not?
No, we don't have any of that. You just need to apply online. They do have, enough literature for bird identification, but there's no test like you guys have down south. And you can apply online as well, and you can get a permit for I think 5 years, 6 years, or something. It used to be back in the day. You used to have to get your permit every year.
Right.
Is it a bit of a
cost much?
No. I think it's like about maybe $25 a year or something.
Wow.
It's not expensive. Yeah.
And
sorry, guys.
Sorry. And you said you could shoot ducks as well. What sort of ducks are you harvesting?
Our main ducks up here. I'm not much of a duck hunter. One of my friends.
I'm a zero duck hunter. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. Well, you're with me then. And sometimes I think I'm a goose hunter because they're slower, but I don't. They're surprisingly fast. But a lot of my friends get into duck hunting, and if there's ducks around, I'll have a go. And our main species that we get up here would be the whistling duck, and it's two types of whistling duck: the plumed and the wandering. Most of the ones that I would see would be the wandering whistling duck, They're really small, small, fast birds. We can't call them in because they've got a whistle, so you can't really call them in. We do get black ducks up here. That would probably be the next main bird that you would see. We also get hardheads as well, but I've shot a few of those, and I don't see a lot of them. There is pink ear up here as well, but I don't see very many of those. Apparently, there's a bigger population down the Catherine Way, which is maybe 200, 300
do you just see
down the road here.
Do you just see the duck hunting as interfering with your goose hunting, like scaring the geese
away? A little bit. No. It's just, they normally run really fast, really early, and so I'll have a go because they come over in hundreds sometimes. If you're in the right spot, they'll come over in waves and waves and waves, and you're like, oh, I'll have a go. But the reason, one of the main reasons I don't really like getting them sometimes is we've got a lot of long grass up here, and so if you're dropping in the long grass, sometimes they can be hard to find, and I don't sort of like chasing them in there. And if you drop them in the water, and we've got a bit of a crocodile problem up here as well, so I'm not a great fan, but I'll have a go. But we'll see this year.
Are the crocs tuned in to the hunters? Do they know that hunting creates dead things for them to eat, whether it be carcasses and frames? And
it's a big topic up here, and I think a lot of people from down south and around Australia talk about, that's the first thing on their mind when they think about the Northern Territory. There's crocs up here, and one of our main hunting is the Harrison Dam. There's the dam, open floodplain, which is around about maybe 800 metres long, and then the river behind the floodplain is Adelaide River, and that's where they do the jumping crocodile. And so that river, exactly right there where the hunting reserve is 4 metre, sometimes 5 metre crocodiles in that river system. And we have Harrison Dam, and it runs off down to a place called Beatrice Lagoon. And that Beatrice Lagoon, it sort of runs into the Adelaide River. So you've got to be wary of some places like the Beatrice Lagoon. I like shooting there because there's less people down there. But there is a croc trap in Harrison Dam. I've tried to get the numbers of how many crocs are actually pulled out of there, and I'd love to get it on my page, how many crocs have been pulled out of there, or when was the last one out of that trap. I've seen one croc in there before, but that was way pre-season. Mm-hmm. But so the rangers are actively trying to get rid of crocs because that floodplain will come up high and it'd be easy enough for a crocodile to drop in there. But you've got other places like Shoal Bay, which is it's back straight onto an open estuary, straight into the salt water near Darwin. So that has massive potentials of crocodiles in there as well. And you got Lambles Lagoon. There's always crocodiles everywhere in the Northern Territory in any waterway, but probably less chance of one being up there in the Lambles Lagoon area. But the point you was asking about, do they associate it with animals and dead things? Okay, the way I look at it, I'm no croc expert. Don't take what I say as any advice on what you should do with crocodiles. Don't. But what I've observed and the way I look at it is that, start of the year, before there's any shooters, the crocodiles are pretty skittish as well. They ain't just like, they get a few gunshots going. They're going to go, yeah, this is not cool. I know I'm not going to hang around with all these gunshots going on. So they'll move out of the area pretty fast, I think. And then once that happens, then I think they will move and disperse from the area. And if it's a constant, every morning, every afternoon, bang, 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 I think that I'm not really keen on this spot. So I'm going to move on. In all the years I've been shooting, I've seen one crocodile outside of the season, and I've been I don't know how many have seen me. Probably a lot more have seen me, but I haven't had any trouble with crocodiles. But I take a few precautions. You try and avoid areas that they like, the launching areas, deep water, going into those types of areas. I take some risks I shouldn't take as well. I know I'll get a lot of criticism out of it. Some of the things I'll say, but I'm telling you plain and simple what I do. And I try and take in a pole as well to try and, if I'm shooting up near the water, I will sort of poke around the water in front of me just in case one is sitting there. It's not foolproof, but at least it's something. We also run dogs as well, retrieving dogs, and I'll probably get a lot of criticism of this as well. And one of the main reasons is because of the crocodiles. Look, in my Labrador's a working dog, and I love him, but I also love my legs at the end of the day. So I won't put him into any undue extra risk. I only send him into areas which I think there's no crocodiles, but there'll be an opportunity for him to get a bird safely. But it's also nice to not go in the water.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there without being too blunt about it. But the reason I ask, so there's some places in the States where the hunting happens for elk and things like that. The bears are that attuned to it that as soon as they hear a gunshot, they come running because they know that's a dinner bell. The other thing is community. A lot of the hunting I did over there was 2 or 3 ridges away from community, like a 2-day horse ride. So those bears weren't associating our scent with food or, opportunity at least. So eat food or, rubbish or extra snacks. Yeah. But obviously they could be opportunistic and come across a tent and smell something and go for it. But that hasn't been my experience. My experience with that was in towns and close to towns. And that's where a lot of the problems happen, where, these heavily hunted areas, there's always gunshots and dead elk, gunshot, another dead elk. And they just put 2 and 2 together. I wasn't sure if the crocodiles had done similar, but hopefully not. No.
We and look, one of the things I look for, so if I am in the water, I'll go up into the water because I try as hard as I can to retrieve every single bird. Yes. And so I will go up in the water sometimes and grab a goose if it's close to the edge. There hasn't been that I remember. Except one crocodile attack on a waterfowl hunter up here in the Northern Territory. I've only been living up here for 17 years, so I don't have the full range. There was one about maybe 4 years ago, but that was out on an Aboriginal community and down south. It wasn't in the Darwin area, and the guy stepped on top of it. And I think that's probably the biggest danger, is stepping on one, not it coming for you.
Sure.
And it grabbed him, or he got away pretty safely. And it was funny because he's in the local news that he said it was a bit sore, so they went and grabbed a 6-pack of beer and then went to the hospital or something like that. The local Aboriginal guy, so down south. But I've never heard of any other interactions with waterfowl hunters and crocodiles. But when I'm in the water and I see a dead bird sitting there, I know that there's no crocodile in the water because it's not coming after me. It's going after an easy snack. An easy snack is a dead bird in the water. And I'm sure a crocodile's like sitting there going, there's a dead bird there, but I'm going to wait for a human to come. There's an easy feed just there.
Yeah.
They're going to grab that and piss off.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. And so I've had maybe one incident where I thought, I put 2 birds down. I shot 2 birds. And then I kept on shooting, but I moved around. I knew the birds were sitting over there. And for the life of me, I reckon I looked for those birds for another hour in the same spot. And then so somehow, I don't know where they went. So that's the only time I've said it. Possibly. Other than that, nothing. So it's a big topic, though, up here. Big topic, massive topic.
What's the conditions this season? I know you and I have been talking now for a few weeks, and you've been sending me updates, and you're excited because the first birds come into Darwin, and that's the start. And what are the sort of numbers looking like heading into this season? It's been a very wet season, hasn't it? Last year.
Yeah, it was. We've had about 4 years of really good wet. The last 4 years have been fantastic. Prior to that, we had about 3 to 4 years of really bad wet, and that's when we went down to about 3 bad minutes. But then the last 4 years, we've had heaps of water, a lot of water. And as you're probably aware, we don't have rain for 3 to 4 months a year, not a drop, not a single drop. Actually, we had the first rain of the season today. Oh. Last night and today was the first rain of the season.
I'll tell you a story about that before you go on. I do know that it's like that up there, but so I'm just looking at my calendar when I was up there. I was up there on the 16th of July through to the 25th of July, and it was on the 23rd of maybe the 24th, 23rd or 24th of July, and obviously we're in the dry season, inverted commas. Never rains up here. No, it never rains up here. And we were offshore fishing, and we got rained on. And we even said to the guide, and you'd probably know of him or who he is, but he said, "No, that's not a rain cloud. That won't make it over here. No, you know what I'm talking about." We got rained on the boat. It wasn't terrible because it was warm anyway. But then we got back to, we were fishing out of, you said it earlier. Where does the Inner start? What's that little town there?
Daly River?
No, the big fishing town with the big pub on the beach. At
Dundee.
Dundee Beach, that's right. And that's where we were fishing out of. Anyway, we got back to Dundee, and then the whole road, mostly all the way to Darwin, was wet. They actually had a bit of a storm, so it's an anomaly. But yes, I understand what you mean. It is a dry time of year, which is great and reliable for hunting, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's good. Like I prefer hunting when it's wet for pigs and stuff. But we got our first big rain in Darwin today, and we normally get it around September. And people say, "Oh, it's a wet season early," but then it sort of it stays around for about a week or so. But we've got enough water in our billabongs, in our swamp systems from the last 4 years to cover us across. Yeah. Like it wouldn't have to rain for another 2 months, and we'd still have plenty of water. It doesn't really affect the birds that much at the start. They'll come in no matter what. So there's water here. It affects them as the build-up starts and the build-up starts and there's more water around, then they spread out a lot more. So it's actually more difficult to shoot them when there's a lot of water around. So, and they will change their habits as well. I do, So the water, so the water affects them, but it's not the rain yesterday or the rain last week. It's 2 years ago affects them.
Yeah, so not the current storms.
No. That affects the track because the tracks up here, you can get on that mud plain, on that black mud that you get on the floodplains. And it doesn't matter what kayak you've got on, doesn't matter what car you've got, that's it, you're bombed. And it's a hazard. Probably a bigger hazard than more than anything up here.
I see that in your updates when you were telling people how to access some of these, spots of land, and you were saying that track's good, but, stay on the high side or, it gets pretty rutted.
Yeah. No, it's really important. Really important. It's one of the main reasons I started my Facebook page. Because I remember lying in bed going, I wonder what that track's like when it's raining, because you can hear the rain coming, and you're like, I wonder what it's like. And you go on the bomb and you can see it go over the hunting reserves, and you're like, I've only been for a week. I wonder what that track's like. It's one of the main reasons I started that Facebook page is so people could, be more, because you can be 40 minutes out of Darwin on a track and you won't see anybody for days. You could be bombed, and it's the heat up here, and you get heat stroke, and you're bombed. Man, it's dangerous, and you're not that far out of Darwin, so it's really, you have to be self-reliant up here.
Do you have reception out there?
Most places we do, but it doesn't matter. The closest place here is Shoal Bay, and I would say half of it would have phone reception. Harrison Dam's pretty mid. The tracks can be a bit dodgy, but Shoal Bay is the dodgiest place. The tracks over there. So yeah.
In one of our conversations, you spoke about some of the gear you've got. I just want to run through. You're talking about decoys and the Field and Game, was it? Bought a pallet load and you ended up with some of them, but they're hard to come by or non-existent?
Yeah, they're really hard to come by. It happened, I'm thinking it's like 8 years ago, maybe even a bit longer. And they're called FUDs, fold-up decoys. They're from America. They're pretty good. And it's really just like a photograph of a bird. And they fold up. They're easy to carry around, they're easy to deploy. They're pretty durable as well. But I think, I got a few when they first came up. But now it's getting harder and harder because I rang up the company or emailed them and said, can I get a few more of these? You tell them on my Facebook page, and they said, you have to buy a pallet. And I couldn't move a pallet, tell you. So, but the thing is, with decoys, I don't know. Like I'm not overly excited. I've got them, and I'll use them. I think they're more for me than the birds. Mm-hmm. And do they come down? Not maybe. But the way we hunt for magpie geese up here, we look for flight paths. That's probably our most important way of locating them and trying to bring them or to harvest them is to look at their flight paths. And so it means you have a lot of legwork. You've got to find where they're going. And it changes from year to year. It changes from different parts of the season as well. Looking for that perfect flight path. There are some sort of main flight paths that you can sort of guarantee in, and Harrison Dam is one of them. It's one of the most popular places to hunt. So decoys, am I sold on them? I guess so, because I bought a whole heap of them, and when they come up on Marketplace, I jump straight on them.
Are you shooting them as they're passing over you or coming to land? I know there's a bit of and feel free to talk to this or poo-poo it, but this is anecdotal because I'm not a duck hunter. There's a bit of a gentlemanly rule where you don't shoot them on the water. You've got to shoot them either when they're coming in or like, is that a law or is it just a...
No, it's not a law. It's like I said, it's
just
more
a fair chase type thing?
It's a fair chase. I'll get a lot of criticism for this, I will. But look, I'm out to harvest birds, okay? And if they're sitting on the water, with no hunters around, like you know there's no hunters around, I will shoot them. I'll shoot them on the water. Am I going to wait for them to get on the wing? I'm not an aristocrat who sits around. It's not a sport. It's not a sport for me.
Yeah, it's protein shopping.
It's a harvest. And I try and do it with as little fuss as possible, burning up as less fuel as possible, with most respect to the animal as possible. So you're right, and a lot of people do. I only shoot on the wing, and good on them, But here nor there for me.
From a hunting point of view, it's a similar conversation, especially in the trophy hunting side of things. But bedded animals, so I would 10 out of 10 times shoot a bedded animal if the opportunity presented, because they're calm. They're generally facing away from you because you've come in from behind. And you need to understand anatomy and how things get squished up and where to aim. But at least if you shoot them and it's not the amazing shot you wanted it to be, which happens, again, the same with on the water, they then try and fly and you get another shot. Whereas, a bedded animal, and that stirs some people up that they will wait until the animal stands up to shoot it. And you could be waiting hours or you could make noise. I know a lot of the pig hunting guys will shoot, they always shoot boars that are in a wallow or bedded on the side of a creek, and there's no issue with that. But from a deer hunting point of view, it's definitely a little bit of a frowned upon thing.
Yeah, it is. I think it's even more like, a lot of duck hunters. Yeah, they'll like I said, I'll get a lot of criticism. But that's I'm telling you how I do it. And good luck to other people who do it their way. I do it my way. So.
Well, for those people, we are interviewing David Roberts, not them. So we're hearing about your story.
That's it. That's exactly right.
So you also put up on the page today, and we'll tell people at the end what the page is called. They can jump across. But you put up some blinds that you'd made. Is that something new for you, or are you just trying a different option?
Well, last year I got caught out in the open too many times. There's some great places to shoot if you get a cover. But I found I think I was probably missing 50% of the birds I could have been shooting. So this year I really, and I love how the Americans do their blinds, and they've got, you see their portable hides, they've got cookers, they've got lounges, they've got beds, they've got TVs, they jump up and shoot. Mine's not like that, don't get me wrong. But I just love the dedication and the effort that Americans go to in especially duck hunting in their sport. Well, all sports that they do, they really go to it. And I think that we sometimes get a bit lazy up here in the territory. People don't wear camo when they go around. They just rock up in a pair of rugby shorts and whatever shirt that they've just been wearing to work in the afternoon, and with a pair of thongs on and just rock up and have a go, We're still shooting birds, but I really enjoy that part of it, and going the extra mile and getting the extra birds. And
I liken it to shooting versus hunting, and like those guys are shooting and you're hunting. Obviously, the same outcome: shoot birds, but different approach.
Yeah. I know. I will probably get more birds at the end of the day, and that will go home a small amount. Well, I'll hopefully get my bag in, and then this year I just thought to myself, that's it, I'm going to do it. And I did, and it was a bit of a rush, actually. I did it last night and today, just from stuff from Bunnings. But I got some, the Balinese hut-style roofs, that old grass sort of stuff. I got some off Marketplace the other day. Man, it looks unreal. To the other Facebook page, man, I'm so proud of it. My daughter calls it my cubby house now. I can't wait to get it written. I really can't.
The problem we have, I don't know if they have it over there in their swamps, but if you set that up over here, it'll just be full of snakes and spiders by next season. Yeah,
no, this is portable. I made it portable.
Yeah, so you'll bring it home. You'll bring it home each season. Those guys over there, they'll make a pond with a built-in, they'll drop a 40-foot container and bury it and just leave it just above, and then they'll flood it every season and plant the rice and stuff or whatever it is to bring in ducks.
That's amazing.
Dedication.
I really appreciate the effort that Americans go to their duck hunting. They're fanatics. They're fanatical about it. Yeah.
Do you have many Americans, or have you seen many Americans or heard of them come across and have a go? Or do they just not know about it?
No. Well, what I was saying about the magpie is such an unusual bird. And, there's some Americans who are really dedicated to the sport, and they will travel the world shooting birds. And like I said, the Magpie Goose is only one of its species. And the last one, it's a very unique bird. And I think it's last year or the year before, they had a really famous duck hunter called Ramsey Russell come in. He's massive. He's massive in the States. Like, he's got something like 500,000 followers or something, And so he came and shot a few birds here. And ever since then, I get messages from Americans now wanting to come over to Australia. And it comes back to the point where I really think that Northern Territory could capitalise on tourism and getting that American market. As you know, they think it's a high valued market as well, and they like spending money, and they go to a lot of effort. And I've had, I think even just alone this season, maybe I would say about maybe 6 inquiries of people, what can I do this, what can I... You see, they're disappointed because you can't, we don't have outfitters for waterfowl.
That was my next question, is there no one guiding that?
Nobody guiding, because I don't think you're allowed to guide on the public hunting reserve. So you'd have to do it, you can shoot magpie geese on public, private land. So that's the only way you could do it. So I think if they did it out of Arnhem Land or some buff hunters put it together.
The tricky part is it's still buff season now. So, right. It's sort of the buff hunters and the guides are out buff hunting.
Yeah.
So there would be an option for this late season buffalo stuff to add it on and then do a joint thing, because we always come back that way on the way through to Darwin to fly out.
Yeah.
So it'd be a good option to add on.
Oh, it would be fantastic. But really the laws don't allow it. I really think you're missing out on an opportunity, especially even, in the local Larrakia, people could get they could get their outfitting and guiding together, and it's another, it could be another part of their culture that they could share with overseas tourists.
I know who I'd be employing as a guide.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I wish. I'm too busy at work, mate. I'm too busy at work as it is. I do this on my time off, and it would be. I think a really interesting concept and a real bonus for NT tourism. Absolutely great bonus.
Talking about the Americans and obviously envying, their setup and that, they've also got a lot of funding going into conservation and, preserving the legacy and the heritage of what they're doing. Is that something you see up there? I mean, with it being free access basically and open slather and not a lot of finance coming from it, is there any, finances going into conservation, or is it even necessary?
The biggest threat is not the hunters to the Magpie Goose population. It's actually the threat is to saltwater incursion into their nesting sites. This is the biggest problem. So it's a land management thing, and mostly only that Kakadu area, and buffaloes have a problem, part of that problem. So conservation itself, like not hunters, and it's a very small hunting population up here. When you consider around about 2,500 hunters, not very big. You're not going to get that much money out of them for major projects. And national parks up here, NT National Parks, do the compliance and the maintenance of the hunting reserves. There is, if you come up, just like any national park up here, if you're outside of the Northern Territory resident, you have to pay a fee as well. It's just like going to Kakadu. You have to pay a fee if you're a non-resident. So that's only started in the last, I reckon maybe last 2 years. I've noticed that happening. So
do you have to be with, as an interstater on that topic, do you have to be with? So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that if you want to hunt Litchfield, which is public land access for buffalo hunting and pigs, through that program, you need to be with a resident.
That's right.
So is that a safety issue?
No, I just think it's I think it's got to do with, we finally got the ability to shoot buffalo, because you can't get a permit to shoot buffalo up here as just a regular person. I know you can, if you're on your own property, but that's not issued by the government, that permit. So backcountry hunting was the first opportunity for, I guess, your regular just Darwinite or NT guy to actually shoot a buffalo on public land. And it also helped out Litchfield National Park in the culling process. So, but what I think it was so there wasn't a big influx of people down south coming up and shooting the buffalo, or maxing out the renting or doing the lease on the land, the booking. I think that, and so they didn't want all southerners coming up, maximising their bookings, and then it wouldn't be an opportunity for Northern Territorians to go and shoot buffalo. I think that was the only reason. You don't have to be with a resident up here. It's always good to go with a resident because it maximises your choices and chances, and knowing the tracks. Like I said, the tracks get a bit dodgy up here. I'm always happy to help people out up here. And that's one of the things I focused on this year, was pointing out hunting spots on my page, and just identifying each reserve, where the flight paths are, and just to help people out, just to give them an opportunity to come up here if you're from Victoria or South Australia, and just go, I can hire a four-wheel drive. Yeah, I can go to this place. It's nice and easy. As you know, hunting's about go in and have a look at a little sniff around, and then come back the next year and you go, yeah, look, I'll go here. That's what hunting's all about. Just having a little bit of push in, having a look around, and I think that would be a great opportunity for, like I said, the Northern Territory to really develop something like that up here.
Has there been any pushback from the more traditional hunters about your openness about that? Like, I feel like there's a couple of fellas in mind that I'm picturing who, on the state forest pages and things like that, are starting to shoot deer successfully and say, hey, I shot this deer there. And that's stirring people up because, you can't give away their spots. And just one example, one person I'm talking about, and he's listening, he'll know who I'm talking about. But he said, I can give you the GPS coordinates that I shot that deer in, and you will never shoot a deer there. And
100%.
And I asked him why,
agree with him.
And he said, because I'm chasing. He said, you may, I shouldn't say never, but he said the GPS coordinates is 5% of the situation. It's the moon, the weather, the wind, the temperature, the camo, the approach, the time he's put into it. All these other things play into it. And then luck. They've got to be there. Deer's a little bit different because we're not chasing migration like you guys are, but there's definitely a lot of blowback from people being annoyed about him giving out spots. And yeah, obviously, are you copying some of that too?
Look, I 100% agree with the way he thinks, because people are lazy. You can give them the best spot, and they ain't go. They like, oh yeah, we'll go there, we'll do this, and they never go. You know, like I'm out having a go, and the birds will move. Look, I can give them one spot. It's going to change next season.
Yeah, it has worked in the past, but it might not work this season.
It's going to change next week. It'll change. You have to move around. Birds out there, you have to move around. And I've been to places where there's hundreds coming over the top. 2 weeks later, not a single bird there. Go back to the same spot at the same time of the year. Next year, not a bird there. 2 years later, not a bird there. But then they're back again. And it's like, you've really got to move around. You've got to do your work. And what I did was I gave people starting points on where to go, but the legwork is up to them. They really have to do their work. And I get more pushback from the guys I hunt with, because every time we go out, they're like, make sure you don't put it on your page. Make sure you don't put it on your page. I'm like, well, but I'm not stupid. I normally I've got a 2-week delay if I put it on a spot. Or I try not to I put a general area where they might be moving around. But my page is not really for like really experienced people, because they're just doing their own thing. They don't need my help. It's more for, I really love helping people get an understanding of the birds up here, because I love it. I love showing people how good it is up here, and new people coming into the territory and giving them that little bit of a knowledge and a little bit of a taste, and then moving on, and not, giving them, and then they can have a bit of success and keep on going. And they're the people I target. And it's the old local guys. Oh, so what? I don't care. I never listen to everybody on it criticisms anyway. So I'm hardly going to listen to those guys. But they're doing their own thing, And I've put most of my site spots in there. Most of them. I left out the little hidden gems, here and there, which I enjoy shooting. And it's sort of, you really have to know what's happening to know where they are as well. So I
keep those honey holes up your sleeve.
Exactly. So, but most of them are there. I've put every single site, all the reserves, all the good flight paths that are expected. So yeah.
On the topic of helping new people out, I was thinking about it earlier when you were saying you just had your first rain. I had some friends just go hunting on the weekend from our local club, and they got snowed on. They had 5 inches of snow, which is late in the year for snow. And they were down in the Maragal area, but it's not it's not the high country. But a topic that came up from that hunt was a bit about hunter etiquette. They had some beginners there, and hunter etiquette around camp and just around the hunting side of it. Have you? It's something I try and instill in people. The hunting is only a fraction of it, but what you do during, before, and after is also important. What are some things that is important when you're in these wetlands? Yeah,
look, and bird hunting is difficult than deer hunting, because you're more shoulder to shoulder, especially on public land. You can be shootable because you're looking for a flight path as well. So, and there are premium spots, so you can be standing shoulder to shoulder. But the only years I've been shooting, like I probably had one pretty bad incident where, somebody, I'd been there in the morning, they rocked up late and sat right in front of me. But really, it's not that common. So that'd be one etiquette to do, give the next hunter enough space. We don't have that. We have some shooters. It gets busy. But really, if you're going shooting during the week, like you can have Harrison Dam, there might be maybe 6 cars down there. So you can shoot your spot you want to shoot most of the time. Weekends, like just like everywhere, can be a little bit crowded. So, I mean, one of the, I guess the biggest issues of etiquette is picking up shells and picking up rubbish and stuff going along. That's probably one of my things I want to try and focus on this year. And looking, I don't understand why people do it, you know, but it happens, and I guess changing. Look, I understand for young guys, you know, getting new into it, just learning sort of how to hunt, and maybe dropping a few shells here and there. And but there's some which, you know, so I sort of try and focus on those guys, new guys coming in. Like I said, my page is sort of for people sort of like learning a little bit, and I try and focus on, you know, like I don't criticize people. I thank people for picking shells up. Hopefully, you know, I think if you start yelling at people, they just go to one end or the other.
Wrong approach.
Yeah. Another etiquette.
Yeah, go. Sorry. No, you go.
Another etiquette thing up here is disposing of birds as well. You have to look. The magpie goose is a big bird. Okay, so you will. Some people will breast it and leg it, and then you've got a bit of carcass left. The reason they do that is because there's hardly any fat on waterfowl. It's not like a chicken that you get from the shop where there's meat everywhere. With the breast and the legs is the main source, and there's not much meat left over from that. So what you left over with the carcass after that. And so one of the rules are that you are dispersed of the birds. You're supposed to disperse them, okay? And so you would do it. You know, that's up to you how you consider dispersing them. You know, 10 metres over there, back into the bushes, 10 metres over there, back into the bushes, and you spread your birds around and move them around a bit. There's been some times where people haven't done that very effectively. But, you know, when I'm scouting out new areas, I look for dead birds. And those lazy guys who don't throw their birds away, I go, oh, yeah, okay, if I've never been to a spot, oh, there's a dead bird there. They must be shooting birds here. I'm going to come back here tomorrow morning and shoot their spot. So clean your birds up, and then people are not going to take the spot. So that's one of the main ways
Hide the evidence.
I found over the years, finding these spots is looking for dead birds. If you're lazy and not picking your birds up or moving them around, that's it. Boom. I'm on your spot tomorrow.
And what are you shooting with? Shotgun, obviously, but still lead up there, is it? Yeah.
No, you're not allowed to use lead shot, just for toxicity. They're allowed to shoot lead shot in communities, but not in our local hunting reserve, so it's field shot. I'm a cheap ass hunter. I'm not going for the big, goose hunting shells, which cost like $300 a packet. I go for the cheapest one on the market at the time, the one on sale. Sometimes most of the time I prefer BBs. They've got a bit of a punch to them. And the magpie gets a very, very coarse feathers. So you can nail a goose and it'll just keep on flying. And you go, like, I know I hit it. I heard it hit it. But it just like ricochets off their feathers, you know? And it's like, so you need a bit of something, you need a bit of power and a bit of pack that packs a bit of punch. But last year I shot some number twos, which a little bit more, they got a little bit more diversity with ducks as well. Like I said, I'm not much of a duck hunter, so I ain't chasing it. And the only reason I had these is because a friend was selling them. And he had a whole heap of them. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's cheap. I'll have.
Are you trying to head and neck? Is that your preference or shot, or you just center mass?
I try center and mass because the down feathers are a lot easier to penetrate, I found, for me. If they're going away from you, like if you shoot them up the back feathers, no way you get them down. And some of those long shot, high shots that some waterfowl hunters like to go for, it's almost impossible to get those bigger birds. And in that case, you've got to go for a headshot. So they're very tough birds, hardy birds, hard to bring down. You really got to nail them.
When they're flying flat, or, not like upright, like they're coming into land, is their head stationary? Like I'm picturing like a Canadian goose in the there's a movie Fly Away Home, and they're all flying in formation, and then like dead flat, and it's just the wings moving, and the torso and neck are just straight. Is that realistic?
Yeah. No, that's how it's the same. They're acting in a very similar way as your Canadian geese and with snow goose, and maybe like not the numbers, but the bird itself, the way it flies, it doesn't glide. It's always flappy, so you can sort of tell what's coming in. And it's good because it's a larger bird. We've got two main protected species up here that we can't shoot, which is the Burdekin duck, but it's pure white, and it knows it's protected. It'll fly straight at you. But it's a little bit smaller, so you can tell, and it's got a squeak to it, and it's white. So the other one is the Magpie Goose. It's a lot smaller, faster, so it's hard to
sure. Obvious difference.
Them. Yeah. So bird identification is pretty easy up here in that respect. The protected species to the old magpie goose. Yeah.
So you alluded to it at the start. We're heading to the end here. I want to get to the exciting part, which is the food. What are we doing with it? You're saying breasting and legging. How much meat are you getting off?
I got to stop you there first because all the local guys, Aboriginal local guys, if I don't mention it, they'll come for me.
They love the wings.
You should be plucking it. You should be plucking the whole bird, tipping the whole bird, splitting it down the middle, popping it open, and putting it on the hot coal fire. That's how they do it. That's how they've done it for thousands of years.
I've seen them do it with a what's the other one to get we can't shoot it, but the local fellas can. It's a tall bird.
It's like a curlew. It's like a big curlew.
Yeah, tall. Yeah. So I've seen them do it with that, and they just throw the whole thing on the fire, feathers and all.
That's it. There you go. Yeah, they call it like a dinosaur bird for some reason. I don't know. Yeah. I've got a funny story because a friend of mine, he said that because he had a wife and they were out here flood plains coming back from somewhere. And they shot this bird, put it in the back of the car, and they're massive birds. They're like small eagles. They're like little. They're massive. Anyway, and apparently they had knocked it out, and it came back alive in the back of the car. So you gotta. I haven't eaten them, but geez, that would have been an event. Let me tell you.
So have you plucked one?
I pluck them. They're a lot of work and really coarse feathers as well. But I advocate that you should be plucking them. So I don't get a lot of flack off the local guys. But man, if you're shooting in an Aboriginal spot because you'll see feathers everywhere. So that's who when the locals have been shooting in that spot, feathers, they would do it, and they're hardcore. They will pluck all day long. The way I do it mostly is breasting. You can do it. It's like a waterfowl, and it's a heavily worked meat. So you either got to flash it really fast, fry it really fast, or cook it for 8 hours, 9 hours.
Right.
So different parts of the goose are better for some things. The legs I would take off and put in the slow cooker for 8 hours, and then even let it sit overnight. And then reheat it again the next morning, and just the meat comes off, falls off the bone. But the way I prefer to eat it, two ways. One is the schnitzels, because you can bash it out and tenderize the breast.
Mm-hmm.
Like fry it goes, and you can taste the bird. You're not really overpowering it with any other flavor. Bam, like that. And the other one I do is the hot smoke the breast. But like I was saying, we've got a big Greek community up here. They love to do it Suva style. And they reckon it's the best way of having it. It's unreal. They just sit it on the charcoal, turn it around. If you see a Greek guy up here in the Northern Territory hunting geese, he's taking it home for Suva.
Is that full birds? They just do the full bird?
They sort of cut it up. They chop it up and
put it on
the legs
sword.
And then over she goes. They love it. They love it.
And
hunting up here.
Quantity-wise, I'm picturing a large chicken breast being similar to a goose breast. Or do you think they're a bit bigger?
Per bird, I reckon probably getting around about... It's a big breast. It's a big breast. I reckon you probably get about maybe 3.5 kilos, maybe.
Of
3
meat?
kilos of breast. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big bird. It's maybe 3, 2.5
Considering... just for reference, because I like my charcoal chicken, most charcoal chickens you get from charcoal chicken are 1.7 to 1.9, it's called. So that's what they weigh, 1.9 kilos as a charcoal chicken. So, and that's including the frame. But, bigger than that, right?
No, it'll be bigger. It'll be bigger. It's a really red meat as well. Like you get, waterfowl, organic waterfowl, it's a heavily worked breast. So there's a lot of blood pumped through it. Where you get your chicken, it's white because it hasn't been doing anything. So heavily worked breast, a little bit of fat on it. You get a lot of orange fat, and the bird changes throughout the year. You'll get later towards the end of the year, you'll get them feeding on chestnuts, water chestnuts, native ones, and so the locals prefer that time of the year because of just adds to the flavour. But then you've got them up in the mango farms as well, and people reckon they take on animals take on what they eat, and so they might get a little bit of a mango flavour to them as well.
It'd be nice to a bit of mango chutney on there. I've been using a friend of mine, colleague at work, I should say. He's been making biltong for me, and when I was in Africa, I picked up this flavouring. I didn't buy it there. I picked up a love for it, and then I bought some since. But it's a dried mango chutney powder. And then after you cut the biltong up, you sprinkle it on like we would chicken salt. You put it in a brown bag and you shake it around after you've sliced it.
Yeah, Sounds good. I love biltong.
Well, another on the food. Can you jerky the breast or anything, or biltong? Is the thing?
Yeah, it does jerky. You can do it You can do it pastrami. I've seen a few recipes. You can do it just like with kebabs as well. Mm-hmm. As long as it's done fast. The breast, and see, a lot of people, it's like everything. You say, I've been eating that. Oh, it's too tough. They just haven't cooked. They don't cook it properly. Yeah. It's like, that's all it's gaming. Oh, is it really? Oh,
that was my other question. What about flavour?
Tastes like Magpie Goose. I don't know. I actually smell things different rather than taste something different. I can smell a Magpie Goose. That's how I recognise it. Like venison, or I smell. It's not gamey, but there's also ways around that, soaking in milk, all those types of things. And, it's just like in a schnitzel, I've never had anybody say, I do not like that. That doesn't taste good. I've always had people say it's whipper.
Previous podcasts, I've been putting this out there where, people can send in a question, and I've had a whole heap come in, and basically we read them out on air, 2 or 3, and you answer them based on your experience, and then you pick the best question, and that person wins a hat. And then all the questions that get sent in over the year, everyone goes in the draw to win a hunt with me, which you and I need to talk about because you're interested in shooting fallow. I'm interested in shooting geese. So I'm just going through my phone here, pulling up the list of questions because I know you're a hunter as well, outside of just, you're not just a goose, not just a goose hunter. And I'll add hunter there. I won't just say goose.
You got a 40 and flip or what?
yeah, I did it on purpose. Yeah. I'm just trying to find. There's no duck specific ones, that's for sure, or goose specific. That's a good question, but not for this one. No, that's a female related one. Right, here we go. This is from Ian Kelly. What was the most important thing you learnt in the first year of hunting, and what do you wish you had learnt in the first year of hunting? So what's your hunting background? When did you start as a kid?
I actually come from a fishing background. I was in the fishing industry for quite some time, and that led off into how many years? Maybe 10 years, mostly out at Lord Howe Island, fishing, and then I got into. I'm still in the industry, but not really. So when it came up to the Northern Territory, I sort of changed from fishing, and then I got introduced to waterfowl hunting that way, and hunting more into it. But my wife's from New Zealand, and her father, they come from the Taupo area, and her father, he loves his hunting, loves it, and I've done a bit of deer hunting there. And so mostly I've done it in New Zealand, and they've helicoptered into a few places. I haven't done any in Australia at all, except up here in the Northern Territory. I mostly travel to New Zealand. I love it, going over there. So I've shot a few fallow, but what we chase mostly over in Taupo are the Sika deer. And I wish there was an easier deer to hunt, but I'm sure it's got to be the hardest deer to hunt is the Sika deer.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my hunting background. I've probably been doing waterfowl hunting for maybe 17 years, and with that is pig hunting up here as well on the hunting reserve. So I've chased a few pigs. Do you want me to answer the question?
Yeah, if you remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember. So it was a long. No, sorry, I could talk a bit. I can remember what it's. What would I like to? The first year is putting in the time and effort. You've got to put the time and effort in, and you might get lucky and nail something the first trip that you go on, but it takes time. It takes time learning an area, learning the animal as well, its habits. You learn knowing about your conditions, knowing about yourself as well, what your capabilities are. Knowing the animal is probably what I would have liked to have known first in my first year of hunting.
And then with that in mind, what's something, if you could just teach all your beginners one question or one thing to learn, what would that be? What would be the most important thing? The same thing again?
Same thing again, but I think I would put a bit more time on the range as well. Yes. Early, getting to know guns. I'm not a gun person. Like I use them to go and collect food and come back. Yeah. But I know that understand the value of them and understanding a well-placed shot now, and especially doing long range or in scrub as well. Having a well-placed shot and the ability to have so I would have spent more time in the range earlier as I started.
It's a good point, and people that listen regularly will probably get sick of me drumming on about this, but I think with our current hunting system we have here in New South Wales, the majority of people coming into the sport as newbies are heading towards the R licence system on public land, and they spend a lot of time learning how to hunt, not as much time learning how to shoot. And then when the time comes to shoot something on their hunting trip, something happens. Quite often they'll get it right and everything goes to plan, but it's just because it actually, coincidentally works, not because they had the right, the breathing, shooting methods, standing offhand, leaning up against a tree and things like that. So more range time. It doesn't matter what level of our sport you're at, the more time you can spend at the range, the better you are. Before I go on a big trip where I know shots are important, I wouldn't call a buffalo trip an important shot trip because there's so many buffalo, it's not an issue. But if you're out, and you're going on a red deer hunt or something and there's only one opportunity you're going to get all week, I'll go out the back paddock and shoot 100 rounds with a 22.
Yeah, counts.
It just counts. It's just confidence just before. So that was the first one. That was from Ian. Second one from Dallas Newson. For Southern Australia, he's excluding buffalo. I won't know why. We'll get onto this in a second. For Southern Australia, what is your favourite calibre or cartridge for normal species, goats, pigs, deer? In your personal collection, what rifle do you like the most and always seem to pick up first? I've
only got 2 guns. That's it, which is pretty unusual for a hunter. I'm sure you've probably got a good collection. I'm sure everybody listening have got massive collections. But I try and keep it to a minimum, the guns I only use or need to use.
How many fishing rods have you got?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, see?
I got 20. I've got one for everything. If I go on the boat by myself, I take 8 rods on.
Yeah.
That's because I got one for that, one for this, 2 for that, one for that.
Okay, so it's the same with us. It's the same with us for shooting.
Yeah, look, I totally understand.
But now, what's your rifle caliber? So you got a 12 gauge?
Yeah, that's 12 gauge, and I've got a 308. I shoot a Lithgow 308. Great gun, cheap. It was cheap. Great Australian gun. Pulled it out of the box. Nailed animals left, right, centre with it. It's a good trick, reliable gun for me, and so that's that's the two calibers and obviously rifles I have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll answer the question because I know I've met Dallas just recently, and I think he was aiming this at me specifically. But my favourite, which does get a fair run, even though it's not the great things for the animals I'm shooting, but it's my 416 Ruger, and it's a big gun. It's my guide gun, but I just love it. I love big calibers. I'm a big enough guy. I can handle it. It doesn't hurt that bad. It doesn't hurt at all, really. It's a push. And I've shot buffalo with it, pigs with it. I've shot rabbit with it. I've shot deer with it, goats. It turns those smaller things inside out. But it's just the most fun thing to do with that gun is to take it to the range and let someone shoot it who only shoots 308s.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good question I'd have for you. Like, okay, so I've got my two guns, two workhorses. What would you suggest to go to the next to put in my either gun safe? Like, if you're with those two, which are totally opposite.
Yep. No, it's a good start. It's a good question. My follow-up, I rarely answer a question straight away. My follow-up question is, what do you want to use it for? Because a bit like your fishing situation, quite often you go on a hunting trip to a property and you're like, all right, well, there's rabbits, there's goats, there's deer, and there's pigs. Well, if I can only take one gun, a 308 is going to do all of those things successfully. You're going to turn your rabbits into mist. But if I'm going away for a week and I'm on a property and there's a bit of downtime, I'll take a 22 to walk around, shoot some rabbits, shoot some cans, shoot some targets, have some fun. But 223 is my favorite caliber for small to medium game. Across the board for plinking, shooting targets. It has no recoil. It's, an effectively cheap round to use. I've got 223s in the cabinet. One's the wife and two are mine. Right. And, that's one of my favorites. And that's following on from his question here. My favorite caliber would be the 416, but my favorite gun would be one of my 223s. It's dead accurate every time out to 300 or 400 meters. I know what it's doing. I'll happily shoot deer with that. And by deer, I mean fallow. I'm not talking sambar and reds, but the majority of my local hunting is fallow. So I'll take that because I know I can head and neck shot, all day, every day, out the window. It's not a hunting rifle. It's pretty heavy. It's a, my spotlighting rig or, I'll take it on a hunt, but it's a heavier setup. So that's my answer to your question and Dallas's. I think 223 should be at everyone's. But in saying that, I love guns, and I really think everyone in the country should own a 22 for that practice. Irrelevant whether it's, you've got a 416, a 308 or a 223 as well. I think the 22 is a great caliber to get your eye in. Now, last one is from Luke McKinley. What are your thoughts on anti-hunters and the best way to approach when asked? Example, avoid them and give them no comments, or try and explain what we do and why we do it, or try and show them the benefits if it's done properly. What are your thoughts on that, and have you had any run-ins?
No. We don't have people wading in water. I've never seen an anti-waterfowler, anti-gun person up here in the Northern Territory, so I really haven't had to deal with it. On the page a few times, but really not that much at all. So, and to explain it to them, I don't think you're going to change their minds. Like, I really don't. You're better off. They'll feed off you and just clear. So you're not going to change their mind. I like staying in my own lane. That's their choice. It's my choice. We better, I don't try and change people's minds. It's what it is.
What about through food? Have you introduced many people to game meats through waterfowl or through venison?
My family, like my wife's family, have always been hunting. Like I was saying, for New Zealand. My kids have always grown up hunting up here in the Northern Territory. I don't really know people who don't hunt or don't go fishing, or I'm just trying to think. I don't know them very well anyway.
Well, maybe you don't want to be friends with them. No, that's a good point.
No, I don't come into that realm.
I have a slightly different take on it. I think it's our job as ambassadors for the sport to understand what we do and be able to vocalise what we do confidently. And you can obviously do that. I want to say I probably nearly go out of my way to create the conversation sometimes on purpose, because I don't want to call it confrontation, but I like educational discussion from both sides. Yeah. Some of my best discussions about hunting have been with anti-hunters. And what irks them the most is when I inquire about their beliefs and why, because they're happy to talk about mine and why mine are wrong. But I just want to know, and there's one in particular I think about, and I mean, he's a politician in the anti-hunting side of it, and he refused to come on air, but we had a phone call. And I asked him, I was like, at what point in your life did you decide that every animal is amazing and you must save every animal in the world? And he had he said, I was 6 and my dog got run over by a car and it was traumatic and we tried to save it and it was nearly cut in half and we didn't. And at that point, then I knew that, I was going to value every animal's life. And I was like, okay, well, now I understand where you're coming from. I can then tailor my conversation to that. And he really didn't know what to talk about after that. But
I've done it. Yeah, it's interesting. I've done a few interviews on ABC radio, which can be dangerous, as you can imagine, around deer season and stuff. Yep. And the commentator did drop one on me one time, like, oh, what about how do you feel when you shoot this majestic animal? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, here we go. And I said, look, I respect the bird. I go out and collect it. I sit around the table with my whole family and talk about that bird and how we hunted it, and we respect it. He does that with a chicken they buy from the local supermarket.
Nah,
that's about all the argument I've got.
Yeah, they no one does. Everyone just eats their $10 chicken.
That's it. We know where it comes from. We know where it comes from.
We'll tidy up these 3 questions, and then I want to ask you one more before we sort of head off. But so you had 3 questions there. First year of hunting, how do you approach anti-hunters, and caliber and gun choice? You have to pick one person out of that, or one question that you thought that you enjoyed. And then they win a hat.
No, I enjoyed the first one.
First years.
First years, because it's important, man. Like those first years are important. You either, you start a lifetime a journey, experiences, and it's just amazing. The journey. You would have been on a few good journeys in your life.
Oh yeah,
from hunting.
I've had some fun. That question come from Ian Kelly. So Ian, you win a hat. I'll reach out to you and we'll organise to send that over to you. As you can, I don't know if everyone can see. We had matching hats on. I jumped on and Dave was in his NT hat, so I went and got mine. Yeah. We're not going to say what it says, but it's just a great advertising slogan. One other thing on the geese thing, can you get them taxidermied? Can you get them mounted?
No, you can't. No, it's
that
not
bugs
within
me.
It's not within the permit. They're an ugly looking bird anyway, right?
Yeah, but you're Americans that you were saying that travel the world just to shoot, that's important to them.
Yeah, because they will have it in the trophy room in the Australian Magpie Goose. No, it's outside your permit. You can't do it.
That's silly. Yeah. I don't understand that, because once it's dead, it's dead. I have similar opinions with the trophy import bans. You can go to Africa and shoot an elephant, a lion, a leopard, but you can't bring it back. It's already dead. It's done.
I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. It's got to do with the bartering, and I don't know. Like it's an unusual subject, but you know you can't do it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover off, mate? Are you'll talk down? I know you can talk for hours on this stuff.
I thought we're only halfway there, mate. I'd keep on talking about Magpie Goose. I reckon we probably covered half of that Magpie Goose.
Oh, well, let's do a wrap up at the end of the season.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. The season's about to start next Wednesday.
What's the date on that? Because this will
25th.
Yeah, 25th. Sorry. Oh,
yeah. On the 25th. So it's a great time of year in the Northern Territory. Like I said, it's it's a great time for Darwin and its people. And it's like it's a great cultural event. Magpie Goose hunting season in the Northern Territory, so that's what I can't wait for.
And if people want to get in touch with you and jump on the page, what is it again, and how do they find it?
Yeah, just jump on Darwin Goose Hunters, Hunters with a Z. It's the most popular. It's the most popular goose hunting page in the world. Magpie goose hunting page in the world. It's the only one. That also makes it the worst as well at the same time. But if you Google Magpie Geese in Northern Territory, it'll come up. Just, message me if you're coming up from down south. I'm happy to show people around. I'm out hunting as well. You're more than happy to tag along with some good information on my page. So, yeah, jump on and have a look.
It's full of great information, and I really like that about it. You're very open about it, and obviously you keep things up your sleeve, but what you are giving away is, valuable information. I've learned a lot, and I know nothing about it. So I intend to I have some clients booked for next year. I'm just the dates don't line up, but I'll see what we can organise and try and get some boys from down here to come up and.
Yeah, come on. It's easy, mate. The hunting reserves are 40 minutes out of Darwin. Nothing.
Yep. So you just stay in a hotel in Darwin and breast all your ducks in the main street. Yep.
That's it. Don't worry about that. It's probably happened before.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I've eaten where was I? I was in Seattle staying at a hostel on one of my journeys in between, and I went and bought a mud crab, big Dungeness crab, from the market, and this thing was amazing, delicious and huge. And I'm sitting in the hostel smashing this cooked crab, and there's a guy in there, didn't speak much English, just pointing at the sign on the door that says no food. And I'm there like covered in crab, and the room smells like crab. But I've done worse things in hotels.
It's better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
Well, I didn't, I just say, mate, no English.
That's it.
Thanks for joining me, mate. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed learning. I hope everyone has too. Jump on the page and say hello to Dave, and look forward to catching up with you in the future. We need to talk about that fallow hunt.
Yeah, it sounds good. I really appreciate your time today. It's been fun.
It has been. Well, everyone, bye for now, and we'll talk soon.